I always believed life slowed down once you crossed 70. People say the world gets quieter, softer, smaller. They don't tell you that sometimes, when you least expect it, life can still drop something on your doorstep that shakes your soul in ways you aren't prepared for. It was a Thursday morning, early enough that the sun hadn't fully committed to rising yet. That in-between hour where the sky is half blue, half memory. I was sitting in my kitchen with a warm cup of tea, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the old clock on the wall. A clock my late husband used to complain about because it ticked just a little too loud. Funny the things you miss. I was folding dish towels when I heard it. A sound so faint at first, I thought it was the kettle settling. A soft whimper. Then another. Then a long, shaky cry, the kind that belongs to something small, fragile, and scared. I froze. At first I thought maybe a stray cat had climbed up onto my porch again. It wouldn't be the first time. I used to leave food out for them, and they never forgot. But this wasn't a meow. It wasn't even close. It was a baby's cry. A real, tiny, trembling baby. I set my tea down so fast some of it spilled onto the table. I didn't even bother wiping it. I hurried to the front door, heart pounding so hard it felt like it was echoing in my chest. My hands shook as I unlatched the lock and pulled the door open. There, on my porch, on the old welcome mat I'd been meaning to replace for months, was a baby. A real baby. Wrapped in a soft cream blanket, its little face scrunched up and red from crying. A tiny knitted hat covered its head. And beside the blanket, tucked under a fold, was a small yellow envelope. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and my throat. For a moment, all I could do was stare. The world felt suddenly too big and too small at the same time. My mind raced in circles while my body stayed completely still. I crouched down slowly, my knees cracking the way they always do. The baby's cries softened into little hiccups, and when I gently pulled the blanket back, I saw the tiniest pair of brown eyes staring up at me. Big, round, scared, the kind of eyes that don't understand the world yet, but already expect too much from it. "Oh Lord," I whispered, feeling something deep inside me shift. "Where did you come from?" The envelope caught my eye then. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. It was light, just one piece of paper inside. My name was written on the front. Not ma'am. Not resident. Not an address. My actual name. Clara. In handwriting I didn't recognize. I swallowed hard and slid the paper out. It was a short note, no greeting, no explanation, no details. Just 4 words written in shaky, uneven ink. "You know why." That was it. Just those 4 words. You know why. My heart jolted, fear spreading through me like cold water down my spine. I didn't know why. I didn't know anything. I didn't know whose child this was, who left it here, who thought I knew why. I looked back at the baby, who had calmed down into soft little breaths, its tiny chest rising and falling under the cream blanket. A quiet innocence wrapped in confusion. My hands moved before my mind did. I lifted the baby gently, supporting the head like I remembered doing years ago. Decades ago, when my arms were stronger, when I was younger, when I still believed life had simple answers. The baby fit perfectly into the space just below my shoulder, warm and impossibly small. There, I whispered without thinking. My voice cracked like it was remembering something my body hadn't done in too long. "It's okay. You're safe now." Safe. I said the word before I knew if it was true. I carried the baby inside, closing the door gently with the back of my heel, as if shutting out the cold could also keep out the fear curling in my stomach. I laid the child on the couch, tucked the blanket around them, and just stared. I didn't know what to do. At 76 years old, I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared for diapers or formulas or mystery notes. Not prepared for this sudden weight of responsibility that dropped onto my porch like a forgotten secret. And yet, the way the baby curled its hand around the edge of the blanket, the way its lips moved softly as it settled, it awakened something old and familiar inside me. something warm. But then the panic crept back. Whose baby was this? Why leave it with me? Why say you know why? I grabbed my phone with shaking fingers and dialed 911. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then I hung up. I don't know why. Fear, maybe. Or instinct. Or something deeper, something telling me not to involve them yet. I sat on the couch beside the baby, rubbing my forehead with my hand. My mind spun through every person I'd known, every family I'd touched, every neighbor I'd spoken to in the past 20 years. You know why. The words replayed themselves again and again in my mind like a looping whisper. I heard the baby fuss softly, and I reached out, touching its tiny hand. The fingers wrapped around mine instantly, like they were holding on for dear life. A lump rose in my throat. My house hadn't felt this full in years. Ever since my own children moved away, started their own lives, and let mine become smaller and quieter without them noticing. I hadn't held a baby since my granddaughter was born, and she was nearly 15 now. I rocked the baby gently in my arms, walking around the living room in slow circles, my feet remembering movements I thought I'd forgotten long ago. Minutes passed. Maybe an hour. Time blurred. But the note. That note kept pulling me back. You know why. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't angry. It felt almost sad. Like someone wrote it with shaking hands and a breaking heart. There was a knock on the door then, a loud one that made me jump. My heart dropped straight to my feet. My hands clutched the baby tighter by instinct. The knock came again. I took a deep breath, walked slowly to the door, and peered through the peephole. A man stood outside. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dark jacket. Face unreadable. My stomach clenched. He wasn't holding a baby. He wasn't holding anything. He wasn't smiling. I didn't open the door. Instead, I called through it. Who are you? His voice was low, steady. Too steady. Ma'am, he said, I think someone left something at your door this morning. My blood ran cold. No one knew. No one could have known. I hadn't spoken to a soul. I held my breath. And what do you think that is? There was a pause. Then he said, you know what I mean. My heart hammered so hard I thought he'd hear it through the wood. I stepped back slowly, shaking. The baby stirred in my arms, sensing my fear. I whispered, barely louder than breath. No, I don't know. The man leaned closer. I could see the shadow of his head under the doorframe. Yes, he said quietly. You do. I stepped back again, and this time he knocked harder. Open the door, he said. Tone unchanged. Not yelling. That somehow made it worse. We need to talk. My throat tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I'm calling the police, I said, voice shaking. I expected him to panic. Or run. Or threaten. But he didn't. He simply said, do what you have to do. I'll be back. He turned and walked away. Not fast. Not scared. But deliberate. Like he knew something I didn't. I waited until his figure disappeared down the sidewalk. Then I locked every door. Every window. Every latch in that house. And I held the baby close, its tiny breath warm against my neck, its little body trembling with the same fear shaking through mine. Who left this child? Why me? And what did that man want? I looked down at the infant in my arms. Innocent, helpless, wrapped in someone's desperate hope. And then the thought hit me. A terrifying thought. What if the note wasn't a message, but a warning? I don't know how long I stayed frozen in the middle of my living room after that man walked away. The baby had fallen asleep against my chest, the softest breaths brushing my collarbone. But I couldn't stop hearing his voice in my head. You know what I mean. You do. I'll be back. I wanted to scream that I didn't know anything. That I was a 76-year-old woman who barely left her house except for groceries and church. That my life wasn't tangled in anybody's secrets. Wasn't tied to anything dangerous. But the envelope, the note, the baby on my porch, they all screamed otherwise. I paced the room slowly, rocking the baby without thinking. Years of mothering lived in my bones whether I wanted it or not. I eventually sat on the couch and laid the child beside me, propped safely on pillows. I stared at the little face, peaceful, unaware, trusting without knowing who I was. "Sweetheart," I whispered, brushing a finger across the baby's cheek. "What did you come here tangled in?" I picked up the yellow envelope again. You know why. I read it a dozen times that morning. Each time, the words felt heavier. My hands felt colder. My stomach felt tighter. I tried to search my memory. Neighbors, church, old friends, family, anyone who might have been desperate enough, or scared enough, to leave a baby at my door. But nothing came. Nothing made sense. I don't know what scared me more, the idea that I knew something I didn't remember, or that someone out there believed I did. Hours passed. I fed the baby warmed milk I found in the fridge, the bottle shaking a little in my hand. Whoever left the baby knew it might be here for a while. That realization chilled me. Toward noon, I heard footsteps outside again. My body went rigid. I moved toward the window carefully, peeking between the curtains. This time, it wasn't the man. It was Mrs. Duncan, the mail lady. A rush of relief washed over me so fast I nearly cried. I opened the door just enough to show my face. She smiled. "Good morning, Clara." My voice came out shaky. "Morning. You all right? You look a little pale." I forced a weak smile. "Didn't sleep well." She nodded sympathetically and handed me my mail. "You take care of yourself." I watched her walk back to her truck, my hands shaking as I closed the door again. I leaned my back against it, trying to breathe. Mrs. Duncan hadn't noticed anything. Good. That meant the baby wasn't visible. And that man wasn't lurking. For now. I walked back to the couch, where the baby lay awake again, eyes wide and bright, staring up at the ceiling like it was the most interesting thing in the world. "You," I whispered, picking the child up. "You need a name." I shouldn't name a child that wasn't mine. But calling a baby "you" felt wrong. The blanket had embroidered flowers along the edges, tiny blue ones stitched with care, almost like someone made it by hand. "Little Daisy," I said softly. "You look like a daisy." The baby blinked, as if accepting the name. Daisy. For now that would do. I held Daisy close and sat in my armchair, thinking. My mind drifted from memory to memory, searching for something, anything, that could connect to the note. My past wasn't wild. It wasn't messy. I lived a simple life. And then my thoughts drifted to someone I hadn't thought about in years. My daughter. She died 17 years ago in a car accident. Her name was Lena. She was only 31. The hole she left in my heart never closed. Not even halfway. My breath caught. A sudden, terrifying thought hit me. Could this baby be connected to her? A child of someone I used to know through her? Someone who knew her past? Someone who believed I knew something? Some secret my daughter never shared? I shook my head. "No," I whispered to myself. "That doesn't make sense." But grief plays tricks on you. Loneliness too. And Daisy. Daisy stirred something deep in my soul that felt too familiar. I tried to dismiss the thought, but it lingered. The hours passed, and I fed Daisy again, changed a diaper with an old towel, and rocked her until she fell asleep. It was like stepping into another life, one I lived long ago, before the gray hair and the wrinkles and the quiet house. In that moment, holding a sleeping baby in my arms, I felt a strange mix of fear and peace. Like I'd been given an impossible burden. And a blessing. Even if only temporarily. I placed Daisy in a laundry basket lined with soft blankets, the safest I could manage, and carried her with me from room to room. I didn't want her out of my sight. Not with that man's words echoing in my ears. Around 5 o'clock, the sun began its golden dip, casting warm light through the windows. For the first time that day, I exhaled without shaking. Until I heard another knock. A softer one this time. Gentle. Polite. I almost didn't answer. But something told me I needed to. I walked to the door, keeping the basket and baby behind me in the hallway. I opened the door just enough to see who it was. A young woman stood there. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Dark hair pulled into a messy bun. Eyes tired, red, swollen like she'd been crying for days. She wore a thin jacket despite the chilly air, and in her hand was a folded piece of paper. When our eyes met, she froze. Her lips trembled. Her whole body shook like she might collapse. I gripped the door. "Can I help you?" I asked cautiously. She swallowed hard. "Are you Clara?" "Yes," I said, heart pounding. She nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. I'm the one who left the baby." My entire body tensed. Before I could say anything, she held up the folded paper like a fragile apology. "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered. "I didn't know what else to do." Her chin quivered. A tear slid down her cheek. "I'm not here to take her back," she said suddenly, shaking her head. "I can't keep her safe." My breath caught in my throat. "Safe from what?" I asked quietly. Her shoulders collapsed. She cried harder, voice breaking like glass. "From him," she whispered. "From the man who came to your door." A chill swept through me so deep I nearly lost my balance. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely holding steady. She shook her head. "Someone dangerous." Her eyes lifted to meet mine. Desperate, pleading. "And I left my baby with you," she whispered, "because you're the only person he won't hurt." My blood ran ice cold. I felt the room spin around me. "Why me?" I whispered. She took a shaky breath. "Because," she said, voice cracking, "because you're her grandmother." My heart stopped. Every beat vanished. "What?" She wiped her face, breath trembling. "Your daughter," she whispered. "Lena. She was my mother." My knees buckled. "And the baby," she said, holding her chest as if keeping herself together by force. "The baby is your great-granddaughter." The world shattered into 1,000 pieces. And the story I thought I was living turned into something far more dangerous, and far more personal, than anything I could have imagined. For a long moment, I just stood there gripping the doorframe, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The young woman in front of me wiped her tears with the edge of her jacket sleeve, her breathing shaky, uneven, desperate. "My great-granddaughter?" I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice. She nodded softly. "Yes. Daisy is yours. She's your blood." Daisy. The name I whispered earlier without knowing. Without understanding. My eyes stung with tears as I stared at the young woman, this trembling stranger who suddenly felt like a thread tied somewhere deep inside my past. "Come in," I said quietly, my voice trembling. "Please." She stepped inside slowly, like her legs could barely hold her weight. I closed the door behind her and gently led her to the couch, where she sank down and buried her face in her hands. I could hear Daisy's soft sounds from the hallway. I reached for the basket and brought her to the living room. The young woman looked up the moment she heard the rustling blanket. Her eyes locked on the baby with a mixture of heartbreak, love, and terror. The kind of terror only a mother on the edge feels. I placed the basket on the coffee table, gently adjusting the blanket around the child. Daisy blinked up at us, her tiny hands curling into fists, completely unaware of the storm she'd been born into. The young woman swallowed hard, her voice small. "Her name isn't really Daisy." I nodded. "What is it?" She hesitated, then whispered. "Her name is Maya." Maya. The sound of it hit me deep, soft, sweet, like a melody with a wound inside it. "That's beautiful," I said gently. "How old is she?" "Almost 3 months," she said. "She was born in January." I felt my breath catch. My birthday was in January. So was Lena's. Your mother, I whispered. My daughter. She died so many years ago. I didn't know she had a child. The young woman shook her head quickly. No, no. She's not my mother. I'm sorry. I should have said it differently. She took a shaky breath. Your daughter, Lena. She's Maya's grandmother. My name is Talia. I blinked, confusion rushing through me. Then, what connection? She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. Her hands shook as she held it out to me. Because, she said softly, Lena had another child before she died. My breath hitched. My whole body went cold. I took the photograph with trembling fingers. It was old, faded at the edges. In it, a little girl who couldn't have been older than 5 stood smiling next to a much younger version of Lena. Her tiny hand was wrapped around Lena's fingers like she was holding on to her whole world. She had a daughter? I whispered, voice cracking. She never told me. She didn't tell anyone, Talia said quietly. She was young, alone, and scared. And when she died, I was adopted into another family. They weren't good people. They threw everything related to my past away except that picture because I kept it hidden. I grew up knowing I came from somewhere, but also knowing no one wanted to talk about it. Talia's voice broke. When I turned 18, I went searching for answers, she said. I found your name in some old papers. I found out who you were. But I was too afraid to show up. I didn't know if you'd believe me. I pressed a hand to my chest. My heart hurt in places I didn't know could hurt anymore. I would have believed you, I whispered. I would have wanted to know you. You're my granddaughter. She cried harder then, covering her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for things to happen this way. I didn't mean to drag danger to your door. I sat beside her and gently placed a hand on her shaking back. Tell me everything. Please. She wiped her face with trembling fingers. I met Maya's father when I was 19. He seemed kind, safe, sweet. But he changed. Her voice cracked. He got involved with people he shouldn't have. Started working for a man named Victor. The name sent a chill through me. Heavy, harsh, dangerous. The man who came to your door, she whispered. My chest tightened. Why would he come here? Why would he know about me? Because Maya's father told him, she said. They found the picture I carried of Lena and you. He recognized your house from the background of another photo. She shook her head. He told Victor you were his backup plan. That if anything happened to him, he'd send the baby to her. My stomach twisted. Oh Lord, I whispered. Maya's father owed them money, she continued. He owed them a lot. And when he couldn't pay, she stopped, choking on the words. He disappeared. Just vanished one day. I don't know if he ran or if they... Her voice broke again. But they started coming after me. They wanted the baby. They said she was collateral. My whole body went cold. Collateral. I repeated, horrified. Talia nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes. They said if I didn't hand over Maya, they'd hurt us both. Or worse. I held her gently. You did the right thing getting her away. She sobbed into her hands. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to trust. I only knew your name. I knew Lena was my mother. I knew this was your house from the picture. And the note? I asked softly. She looked down shamefully. I wrote you know why. Because I thought once you saw her, you'd understand. I thought maybe you'd know something, anything, about why my life has been such a mess since birth. I shook my head. Honey, I didn't know. I didn't know Lena had a child. If I did, I would have fought to keep you. She nodded, tears falling. I believe you. I looked toward baby Maya, sleeping peacefully in the basket, unaware of the danger that had chased her here. Then I asked the question that had been burning in my throat since the moment Talia walked in. Talia, will they come back for her? She swallowed hard. Yes. Victor doesn't let anything go. My heart hammered in my chest. And me? I whispered. Why would he think I know something? Talia looked at me, really looked, her eyes filled with a sad truth she hadn't said yet. He thinks you know where Maya's father is, she said. He thinks you know where he hid the money. My breath left my body. I don't know anything, I whispered. I know, she said softly. But he doesn't. And then she looked toward the door like she expected someone to burst through it at any moment. We don't have long, she whispered. I felt a fear I hadn't felt in decades. Deep, primal, protective. I instinctively picked up Maya and held her close. Her tiny body curled into me, soft and warm and trusting. What do we do? I asked, voice trembling. Talia swallowed hard. We run. I stared at her, stunned. At my age, running wasn't even something I thought about. But then Maya made a small sound, a little sigh that sounded like the beginning of a cry, and something inside me hardened like steel. I wasn't just some old woman living alone in a quiet house. I was a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and someone had come for my blood. I looked at Talia, steadier than before. Then we run, I said. And for the first time since baby Maya appeared on my doorstep, I felt a fire inside me. Because I wasn't running from something. I was running to protect someone. For the next few minutes, neither of us spoke. The house felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses on your chest rather than soothes it. I held Maya close, her tiny breaths soft and innocent against my shoulder. Talia sat on the edge of the couch, fingers twisting in her lap, her eyes trained on the front door like she expected it to fly open at any second. I finally broke the silence. We can't stay here. Talia nodded, wiping her face. Victor knows this address. He saw your house in the photos I had. He knows this is where Maya was brought. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking deep. My home, my safe little world that had held all my memories for decades, was no longer mine. It was a target. Did he see you bring her here? I asked softly. No, she whispered. I dropped her off before sunrise and stayed in the distance long enough to make sure no one else took her. But when I ran, I think they saw me leave the area. They must have followed me here later. My stomach clenched. That meant we weren't just dealing with one determined man. They had resources, eyes everywhere, people who owed favors. What does he want with the baby? I asked. Her voice cracked. Leverage. He thinks Maya's father left something behind. Money. Information. Something valuable. Something he was hiding. Victor believes Maya is the key to finding it. The idea alone made my skin crawl. A baby. I whispered in disbelief. What kind of person thinks like that? The kind of person who doesn't care about children, she said. Or innocence. Or life. I looked at her, really looked. This girl had lived a life shaped by loss long before today. You could see it in the way she hunched her shoulders, in the way she flinched at every noise, in the way she held hope like it would shatter if she gripped it too tight. How far does his reach go? I asked. She took a shaky breath. Far enough that running isn't easy. I felt Maya stir, her tiny hand curling around my sweater. That small gesture lit something inside me, a steady flame I didn't know I still had. I'm not letting him take her, I said, my voice firm and steady. Talia nodded, but I saw the fear behind her eyes. Clara, I don't want to drag you into this. I held her gaze. You're already here. And your family. Her lip trembled at the word family. I saw how much it meant to her, how foreign it felt, how she didn't quite know how to accept it. I took her hand gently. You and this baby are blood. My blood. And I will not let anyone harm either of you. She looked down, silent tears sliding down her cheek. I didn't expect kindness, she whispered. Not from anyone. Well, I said softly, you're going to get it from me. For a moment, something warm passed between us. A fragile connection that had been denied for years but found its way back home. But that warmth didn't last long. A loud engine rumbled outside, slow, heavy, like a vehicle driving too close, too slow, too deliberate. Talia's eyes widened. That's not normal. My breath hitched. I carefully peeked through the curtains. A black SUV crawled down the street, tinted windows, moving like a predator looking for movement. It stopped in front of my house for just a moment, too long a moment, and then slowly drove on. My knees almost buckled. They found us, Talia whispered. No, I said quickly. Maybe they're just scouting the area. She shook her head. Scouting means they're close. I backed away from the window, my heart pounding so loudly it filled my ears. The baby sensed the tension and began to fuss, small soft cries that made everything feel more urgent. What do we do now? I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. Talia stood, wiping her face with trembling hands. We pack. We take only what we need. We leave before they circle back. Leave for where? I whispered. She hesitated. Somewhere far. Somewhere they won't expect. Somewhere small and quiet. A laugh almost escaped me, not a happy one, but one born from fear and disbelief. Honey, that's every place I know. A small, strained smile flickered across her face. Then that works in our favor. I turned quickly toward the hallway. Let me grab a few things. I moved faster than my old bones were used to, snatching clothes, the emergency cash I kept tucked inside a shoebox under my bed, a blanket, my phone charger, and an old picture of Lena I couldn't leave behind. When I came back to the living room, Talia had Maya lifted gently from the basket, soothing her with soft shushing. She looked natural holding the baby, even with the fear in her eyes. We need a car, she said. I have mine, I replied. But it's old. Slow. Slow is still moving, she answered. I nodded and grabbed my keys. But just as we headed for the back door, we heard it. A knock. Not a polite knock. Not a hesitant knock. A slow, deliberate pounding. Talia froze, clutching Maya tighter. I could see her breath stop, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. My hands started to shake. Another knock. Harder this time. Then a voice. Deep, too calm, too sure. Clara, the man called. We need to talk. It was him. The man from earlier. Victor's man. I held a finger to my lips, signaling Talia not to make a sound. But the baby, sweet little Maya, gave out a soft cry. Just one. Just enough. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then the man's voice came again, closer now, right against the door. I know she's in there. Talia's face went pale. Her entire body shook. I whispered, barely audible. Back door. Now. We moved as quietly as we could toward the kitchen, hearts pounding in unison. I unlocked the back door, easing it open inch by inch. Behind us, the front door rattled. He was testing it. Talia slipped out first, holding Maya tight. The cold air hit us like a slap, but we didn't stop. We hurried across the yard toward the fence. Behind us, we heard Wood creak. He was trying to force his way in. We reached the car, my old gray sedan that had seen better decades, and I fumbled with the keys, hands shaking uncontrollably. Inside the house, something crashed. He was in. Hurry, Talia whispered. I unlocked the doors. We dove inside. I shoved the key into the ignition, praying the car wouldn't fail me now. The engine sputtered. My heart seized. Not now. Not now. The second try. The engine coughed, groaned, finally roared to life. The back door of the house flew open. The man stepped out, eyes locking onto us instantly. Go! Talia cried. I slammed the gas pedal down harder than I had in 20 years. The car lurched forward, tires screeching as we tore down the alley. Talia held Maya tight against her chest, whispering, "It's okay, baby, it's okay, it's okay," over and over, even though none of us believed it. I didn't dare look in the mirror until we reached the road. When I finally did, my blood ran cold. The black SUV was turning the corner, speeding up, coming straight for us. And in that moment, with the baby crying and danger inches behind us, I said one thing, one promise to myself, to God, to whoever was listening. I am not losing another child. I pressed the gas harder. And we ran. I hadn't driven that fast in years. Maybe decades. The old steering wheel shook beneath my hands, every bump in the road rattling my bones. The alley shot past us in a blur, fences, trash bins, cracked pavement all melting into streaks of grey. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was keeping Maya safe. "Is he following?" I whispered, my voice tight. Talia twisted around in the seat, clutching Maya close. "Yes. He's right behind us." I risked a glance in the mirror. The black SUV, heavy, dark, predatory, turned the corner into the alley and picked up speed, closing the distance too quickly. My hands tightened around the wheel. "Hold on." I took a sharp turn left onto a narrow side street, the tires squealing so loud it felt like the whole neighborhood might wake up. The sedan swayed, almost tipping as we jolted onto the main road. The SUV followed. He wasn't even pretending to be discreet anymore. Talia gasped. "He's speeding up." I pushed the gas pedal down as far as it would go, the engine whining in protest. "Come on, old girl. Not today. Not today." Houses blurred into patches of color. Trees flickered past like shadows. Even in the panic, I could feel Maya crying against Talia's chest, her small, terrified wails cutting through the air sharper than anything else. "Shoo, baby. Shoo," Talia whispered, though her own voice was trembling. "We're okay, we're okay." We all knew we weren't. The road ahead curved, leading out toward the highway ramp. My mind raced. We couldn't outrun him forever. My car was too old, too slow, too tired. Even if we got onto the highway, he'd catch us within minutes. I needed to lose him now. I took another turn, this one even sharper. The sedan jolted violently, and Maya's cry broke into a high-pitched wail. My heart twisted painfully. "Hold her tight," I shouted. "I got her," Talia cried. The SUV swerved into the turn too, tires scraping against the curb, sparks flashing beneath the metal. He didn't care if he wrecked the car. He cared about catching us. We hit a stretch of road with construction barriers lining the right side. Orange cones. Metal fencing. Piles of dirt. A narrow passage barely big enough for my car. "Talia," I whispered. "We're going through." Her eyes went wide. "We won't fit." "He won't either." The sedan clipped a cone, knocking it aside, and dove into the thin passage. My side mirror scraped against a slab of concrete, making a sharp screeching sound that tore through my nerves. Behind us, the SUV tried to follow. It jammed. The left side slammed into the fencing, metal bending inward. Talia gasped, covering Maya's ears. "He hit it, Clara, he hit it." I didn't stop to look. I kept driving, heart pounding, until we shot out the other side of the construction zone. Finally, I slowed, breath shaking, relief flooding my bones, until I saw the SUV in the mirror again. It had broken through. The front bumper hung crooked. One headlight flickered. The hood was dented. But it was still moving. Still coming. "Clara," Talia whispered, her voice breaking. "We can't keep running." "I know," I said, breathless. "We need somewhere he won't expect." "Where?" she asked. A place flashed through my mind so suddenly I almost laughed from disbelief. "We're going somewhere no one goes," I said. She stared at me. Where? I tightened my grip on the wheel. The old church on Willow Lane. Her eyebrows shot up. The abandoned one? Not abandoned to me, I whispered. I turned sharply onto Willow Lane, a long, cracked road lined with leaning trees and broken streetlights. The SUV followed, but slower now, engine struggling. The crash had wounded it more than I realized. The church appeared at the end of the road like a ghost from another life. Tall, wooden, worn by time. The paint was peeling, the windows boarded, but the bell tower still stood proud like it remembered better days. I parked behind the building, hidden from the main road. The SUV was still blocks behind us. We have a few minutes, I said. We rushed out of the car. My legs shook beneath me, but adrenaline held me upright. I led Talia toward the back door of the church, one only I knew how to open. My late husband used to be a deacon here. He had shown me a small trick years ago, how to slide a rusted latch in just the right angle. Before his illness became too much. Before the doors closed for good. My fingers moved on instinct. The latch clicked. The door creaked open. We slipped inside. The old sanctuary was dark, dust floating like tiny ghosts in the slanted beams of sunlight. Rows of wooden pews sat crooked and forgotten. The air smelled of old hymns and memories. I closed the door and pushed a pew in front of it. Talia whispered, "How long will that hold?" "Long enough," I said. We moved deeper inside, footsteps echoing off the faded walls. I led them toward a small storage room in the back, a room few people ever entered. My husband used to keep communion supplies there. Candles. Extra hymn books. It felt like another lifetime now. "We can hide here," I whispered. Talia nodded, rocking Maya gently. "Do you think he knows we came this way?" "He'll check," I said. "But he won't break into a church. Not right away." Her eyes flicked toward the boarded windows. "Clara, what if he does?" I took her hand. "Then we fight." The fear in her eyes softened just a little, because this time, she wasn't alone. Minutes passed. The air grew still. The baby quieted. But something gnawed at the back of my mind, something sharp and unsettling. I turned to Talia. "Tell me the truth. Everything. No more hiding." She hesitated, then nodded. "Maya's father," she whispered, "left him something. Something Victor wants." "What?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "A lockbox." My heart thudded. "What kind of lockbox?" "One with money," she said. "And documents. Not just random papers. Things that could destroy Victor." I stared at her, stunned. "Where is it?" I whispered. She looked down, trembling. "That's the problem," she said. "I never saw it. But he told me something before he disappeared." "What did he say?" Her eyes lifted, filled with guilt. "He said, if anything happens to me, she'll know where it is." My breath caught. "Who? Me?" "No," Talia whispered. "Then who?" She looked at Maya, small, innocent, and sleeping peacefully against her chest. "He meant the baby," she said. "He meant Maya." My body went cold. My lips parted, but no sound came out. A tiny baby held the key to something dangerous. Something powerful enough for a man like Victor to hunt us through the city. And suddenly everything made sense. The note. The threat. The chase. "He thinks," I whispered, "that I know more about Maya than I do." Talia nodded slowly. And then we heard it. A car door. Slamming. Then footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Searching. Right outside the church. Talia clutched Maya tight. My breath froze. A chill slid down my spine. "He found us," she whispered. The footsteps moved closer. Boards creaked. Wood strained. And then, a deep voice echoed from the front entrance. "Clara," he called. "I just want to talk." His tone was calm. Too calm. We both know you have something that belongs to us. My hands trembled. My heart raced. Talia looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. What do we do? She whispered. I took a deep breath. We don't run this time. We listened as he stepped inside, slow, steady, unafraid. One thing was suddenly very clear. He wasn't leaving. Until he found us. And I wasn't letting him take my family. Not now. Not ever. The old wooden boards of the church groaned under his footsteps, each sound slicing through the darkness like a warning. I pressed my back against the cold wall of the storage room, my breath shallow, my heart punching against my ribs. Talia clutched Maya to her chest, tears streaming silently down her face. The footsteps grew nearer. Slow. Deliberate. Tracking us like prey in a maze he already memorized. Clara, he called again, voice calm, confident, terrifying. There's no need to be afraid. The baby whimpered softly, a tiny sound only a mother or a predator would notice. Talia's hand flew to Maya's mouth to soothe her, but it was too late. He heard. You're here, the man said softly. I closed my eyes for a split second. God help us. He pushed open the sanctuary door. The hinges screamed. I could picture him entering, tall, broad, eyes scanning every shadow. I whispered to Talia, do not move, no matter what happens. She shook her head, terrified. Clara. I squeezed her hand. I mean it. Silence. Then slow footsteps crossing the sanctuary floor toward the back. I took a deep breath, stepped away from Talia, and moved toward the opposite side of the storage room where a narrow crack in the boards let me see him. There he was. Victor's man. Dark jacket. Stone face. The calm of someone who had done terrible things and never lost sleep over any of them. He stopped at the pew I'd moved to block the door. It was clever to come here, he murmured. But clever won't keep her safe. He pushed the pew aside like it was nothing. The wood scraped violently across the floor. Talia flinched, clutching Maya tighter. My entire body burned with fear. He stepped closer. You don't know what that child carries, he said quietly. You don't know what she's worth. I stepped forward, straightened my back, forced my voice not to shake. I know she's a baby, I said. A baby you have no right to chase. He froze. Then his head turned in my direction. He'd heard me. Clara, he said, his voice smooth as ice. There you are. He moved toward the storage room door. Talia, I whispered, go out the side window. Now. There's no way out. Yes, there is, I said sharply. The little window above the shelf. Push it open. She looked up, eyes wide. It was small. Too small for me or him. But big enough for her. And Maya. Go, I repeated. Now. She climbed onto the shelf, pushing the window with her free hand. It creaked, stiff from years of never being touched, but finally gave way. I stepped into the middle of the storage room, blocking the man's path. My knees shook, but I stood tall anyway. The door swung open. He stepped inside. The look on his face told me he expected me to fold, to beg, to hand the baby over. He didn't know me at all. Move, he said. I don't want to hurt you. I shook my head slowly. You won't touch my family. His jaw tightened. Clara. Behind me, I heard the faint squeak of the window sliding open. The cold air rushed in. Time was running out. He took a step closer. You're making a mistake. No, I said quietly. You are. I grabbed the only thing within reach, an old metal candle stand leaning against the wall. I held it in front of me with both hands. His eyes flashed with annoyance. He raised his hands slowly. Don't make this difficult, he said. We only want the baby. Then you'll have to go through me. He lunged. I swung the candle stand with a strength I didn't know I still possessed. It smashed into his shoulder, and he stumbled back with a sharp grunt. Clara. Talia cried from the window. Go! I shouted. The man straightened, fury burning in his eyes. You're going to regret that. He rushed forward again, this time faster. I swung again, but he grabbed the stand mid-swing and ripped it out of my hands. He tossed it aside. It clanged against the floor, echoing through the church like a death bell. He stepped closer. Too close. But behind him, faint and desperate, I heard the scraping of Talia's legs squeezing through the window. The baby whimpered. He heard it too. He spun around. No! I shouted. I threw myself at him, grabbing his jacket, pulling with every ounce of strength my old bones had left. He dragged me forward easily, but it slowed him just enough. Let her go! I screamed, my voice cracking. He shoved me hard. I fell against the pew, pain shooting up my side. My breath left my body in a gasp. He turned back toward the window, toward the baby. No, no, no. I forced myself up, ignoring the pain, the dizziness, the pounding in my head. I grabbed the first thing I could reach, an old wooden hymnal and a metal cross lying in a forgotten box. My hands shook as I lifted the cross. He reached the window. Talia had slipped through, but her foot was still inside, stuck. He reached for the baby. No, no. I screamed, rushing at him with every ounce of strength left in my soul. Get away from her. I slammed the metal cross into the back of his head. There was a sickening thud. He staggered. One hand grabbed the window frame. The other clutched the back of his skull. He turned toward me, enraged, but dizzy. Off balance. Bleeding. This isn't over, he growled. That's when Talia's foot slipped free. She fell outward with a cry, landing in the churchyard outside. I grabbed the window and slammed it shut with all my strength, locking it from the inside. He lunged for it, too late. His fingers scraped the wood, furious. Talia yelled from the outside. Clara! Come on! I turned just as the man charged at me. I stumbled back, gasping, grabbing anything I could to keep standing. Then I heard it. The distant wail of a siren. Police. Someone must have called. A neighbor. A passerby. An angel, maybe. The man froze. Sirens grew louder. Closer. Red and blue lights flashed through the boarded windows. He looked at me with pure hatred. Then he backed away slowly, slipping toward the rear exit of the church. This isn't finished, he said. Then he vanished into the shadows. I didn't breathe until I heard the far-off roar of an engine fading into the distance. I stumbled to the window, pushed it open, and climbed through as fast as my trembling body allowed. When I reached the other side, Talia was holding Maya tight, rocking her with uncontrollable sobs. I pulled them both into my arms. We're okay, I whispered, shaking. We're okay. We're okay. But I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Hours later, after police statements, after the church was searched, after they told us to stay somewhere safe, we ended up in a shelter run by the local women's center. They put us in a small private room with warm blankets and fresh clothes. Maya slept on my chest, her tiny breaths warm and steady. Talia sat beside me, her head resting on my shoulder, tears still drying on her cheeks. Clara, she whispered, I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. I shook my head softly. Your family. That baby is family. I'd do it again. She took a shaky breath. What do we do now? I looked down at Maya. Her small face. Her peaceful innocence. The tiny life everyone wanted something from. We keep her safe, I said softly. We fight until this is over. And the lockbox, she whispered. I stroked Maya's cheek with my thumb. We'll worry about that when the time comes. Outside the shelter room, officers stood guard. A social worker brought food. The world felt calmer, safer. For the first time since she appeared on my doorstep, Maya slept without fear touching her tiny body. Talia closed her eyes, leaning into me. You saved us, she whispered. I kissed the top of Maya's head. No. She saved us. All of us. In that quiet, sacred moment, I realized something. I had lost a daughter years ago. But fate, in its strange and painful way, had given me another chance. A newborn to protect. A granddaughter to heal. A family to rebuild. Whatever Victor wanted, whatever danger still lingered, we would face it together. Because love, even broken love, is still stronger than fear. And as I held Maya close, I whispered one final promise to the universe. No one will take you from me. Not again. Not ever.